Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Madiha Sagir from Department of Zoology, Bank Road Campus, University of Education, Lahore. So, students, today we are going to talk about the taxonomic keys. In previous lecture, we talked about the taxonomic collections. As we are discussing our main topic, that is the taxonomic procedures. So, in taxonomic procedures, first we talked about the taxonomic collections, but in today's lecture, we're going to talk about the taxonomic keys. So, what are the keys? Keys are basically, if I speak broadly or in general terms, then keys provide a solution to something. Keys unlock our locked problems. So taxonomic keys definitely resolve the taxonomy of the particular specimen. Okay, the taxonomic keys. Let's have a proper definition of the taxonomic keys. A key is a device which, when properly constructed and used, enables the user to identify an organism. Now, this organism could be an animal, this organism could be a plant. In animals, it could be macroscopic, it could be microscopic, it could be insect, it could be vertebrate, invertebrate, marine, anything which you have as a specimen. So the goal of the key is what? The goal to construct a key is to have the separate characteristics, so we get the segregated characteristics of a particular choice, right? Suppose if I have a specimen, in the key I should have the alternative choices, right? And the insect head has two horns. One choice would be this, another choice would be the insect has one horn. So this is what is important in making or in constructing the taxonomic key. By comparing an unidentified specimen feature by feature with the key couplets, one gradually eliminates all the known agreeing subgroups and arrives at one which agrees. What we do, we have in key, we have a couplets. Basically, we're going to talk about the dichotomous key. So what does couplet means? Couplet means that we have a pair of two statements. We have a pair of a statement. In pair we have a two statements. So that two statements combinedly or collectively known as the couplet of that particular key. Then keys are constructed so that user is presented with series of choices about the characteristics. What we we have a series of choices. We just have to say yes or no. If this choice or this character is present in our specimen, yes, then we have to go to the next step. If this character is not present, no, then we have to move on another step. So this what we have in the keys, and ultimately and finally, after yes no and segregating the characters, we finally reach our identification that what kind of specimen do we have to identify. Okay, now the types of the taxonomic case. As I told you that today we're going to talk about the dichotomous key. So first of all, we will talk about the simple dichotomous key. Again, the dichotomous word has been derived from the Greek word di means two and tom means some cutting material, cutting object, cutting machinery, not object, right? So dichotomous means that divided into two parts. Why we call it dichotomous key? Because we have two choices, or we have a pair of contrasting choices. That's why this key is known as the dichotomous key. Okay, in the pure dichotomous form, two sets of contrasting characters called leads form each couplet. This what I will explain in your next slide, that what is the lead and what is the two. We have two choices, and these two choices combinedly known as the couplet, but individually each statement or each choice is called the lead. Alright, the choice of one lead takes a user to an end point or the pointer to the next couplet. If our first choice would be right, then we will move to the next choice, or we'll find the identification. If our first choice is no, then key will ask us to go to the next couplet or next choices of the characters to match. So there are dichotomous keys to identify animals, insects, plants, and many other things. We can even construct the dichotomous key to identify non-living objects as well, right? There are many activities like this. So when question is answered, then two more choices are presented until and unless we have gone through all the choices and finally we have identified our specimen. Again, because key is constructed of pairs of constructed choices, contrasting choices, it is often referred to as the dichotomous key. Now the following described keys are known as a simple dichotomous key. These are the simple dichotomous keys. Look. 1. Abdomen shorter than thorax, abdomen longer than thorax. These two are combinedly, this one is what? This one is the couplet number. Alright. And these two statements are what? Lead. This is the first lead, abdomen shorter than thorax. This is one lead. And this is the second lead, abdomen longer than the thorax. Alright. So this is another key, another couplet number 2. That is giving description about the head with two horns projecting forwards, head without any horn projecting forwards. This is the couplet number 3. Thorax with spine or spines on dorsal side, thorax without any spine on the dorsal side. And this is the couplet number 4. Thorax with one spine on dorsal side or thorax with two spines on dorsal sides. So in this key, what do we have? We have the 4 couplets, and if we talk about the leads, then 2 leads per couplet, because 2 leads combine to form a one couplet. Got? In other words, you may say that 2 statements of the characters or 2 choices combine to form the one couplet. Okay, how to use dichotomous key? Now it's very important to know that how can we read the dichotomous key. So to make you understand properly that you could be able to read the dichotomous key, I have given an example here. We have a presumption that we have a genus called A, and that genus contains, suppose we are supposing here right now that genus contain 4 species, like here A1, A2, A3, A4. These are the 4 species in genus A. So we have to identify a specimen that must belong to the genus A, but to which species, this what we need to run a dichotomous key. Now here presume that you have a insect specimen whose abdomen is longer than the thorax, right? Here how many couplets are given? 3 couplets. 1, 2, 3. Alright, each couplet consists of 2 contrasting characteristics. So we have a presumption that we are having an insect specimen whose species is unknown, so we want to identify it with the help of our dichotomous key. So suppose abdomen is longer than the thorax. So first read the first couplet. Abdomen is shorter than the thorax. No. Abdomen is longer than the thorax. Right. This is yes. Okay. Then this is telling us that we need to go to the step number or couplet number 3. Directly jumps to the couplet number 3. Thorax with single spine on the dorsal side. Now again suppose that we have a specimen that has abdomen longer than thorax, but thorax is without dorsal spine. Okay. Couplet number 3. Thorax with single spine dorsal side. No. Its second lead, thorax without spine on dorsal side. Yes. It means that our specimen in hand belongs to species A4. Right? So this is how to use or read the dichotomous key. Now make another presumption that you have a specimen whose abdomen is longer than thorax, but who has the 2 spines on the dorsal surface. Right? Here you can see that you don't have such kind of abdomen is longer than thorax. You jump to the couplet number 3, but here 2 characteristics are given: thorax with single spine on dorsal side, thorax without spine. But what do we have right now? We have a specimen that has 2 spines on the dorsal surface. Yes, this. However, if our species had abdomen longer than thorax and 2 spines on dorsal side. Now what we have run to the couplet number 3, right? But would not fit into the description of either species A2 or A4. It means that our specimen in hand does not belong to either of these species. It is some undescribed or new species. So we will name it as like this. We have constructed another couplet, thorax with 1 spine on dorsal side and thorax with 2 spines on dorsal side. So our unknown species become now the species number A5, which was not previously described species. Alright, this is how we can read and how we can use the simplest dichotomous key. Okay, second type of the dichotomous key is the bracket key. Now the simple dichotomous key we have modified into a bracket key. This key is very useful, and this is known as one of the best keys among all other types of the keys. What we do this, the advantage of this key is that it provides both. It can run in both direction, forward and backward. Okay, and but division is not so clear. Why? Here, if you see that this is the bracket key, right? Again, suppose we have a specimen that have the abdomen shorter than thorax. If specimen has the abdomen shorter than thorax, then we need to go to the couplet number 2. This is the couplet number 2. Okay, again we have the two choices to choose. Head with 2 horns projecting forward. If yes, we have the specimen with 2 horns that are projecting in forward direction, then it belongs to the species A1. If no, then head without horns projecting forward, yes, then our specimen would belong to the species A3. Now I said that this key can run in both forward and backward direction. How? This is the couplet number 2, but within a bracket it is given that from where we have come. We have come from the couplet number 1. So we can directly move back from couplet number 2, we can move to the couplet number 1. Now take another assumption that we have the specimen whose abdomen is longer than the thorax, right? So here this key is telling us that we need to go to the couplet number 3. Here, thorax with spine or spines on the dorsal side. Now if our specimen has the abdomen longer than the thorax, then it would definitely have these 2 characters, either this one or either this one. If it has this character, then if the thorax with spines on dorsal side, then we need to move to the couplet number 4. Either it has the single spine. If it has a single spine, then it belongs to species A2. If it has the 2 spines, then it belongs to species A5. As this what we constructed in our previous slide, new species A5, right? So this is telling us that we from 4th couplet, from where we have come from the 3rd couplet. So this key can run both in forward and the backward directions. All right. Okay, another type of the dichotomous key is the intendant key. This is very useful key, and it is a modification of the bracket key. In bracket key we cannot have the divisions. We have the divisions, but that division is not clear to the eye while reading the key. But in intendant key we could have the clear divisions of relationship of the divisions while reading the key. And why does it call intendant key? Because it is called intendant key because in intendant key the choices of the couplets are intendant from the main statement. Like here you can see that this is the main statement and the choices are move a bit towards right from the left margin. So what we have done, we have intendant or choices, successive choices. So choices are successively intendant, and finally and ultimately we reach to our identification point. So here if again presume that you have a specimen whose abdomen is shorter than the thorax, then you have the 2 choices here. Head without horns, done. If your specimen has no horns on head, then it would belong to the species A3, and if head has 2 horns, then it would belong to the species A1. If both choices if this choice is no, abdomen shorter than thorax, then these two choices will also be no. No. Okay. So it means that it is showing the relationship of the division. If this is no, then 100% these two would also be no. So we will move to the next statement, abdomen longer than the thorax. Now here the further choices are independent, like you can see thorax with dorsal spine. Either are, if we have the specimen that has the abdomen longer than thorax, then definitely our specimen has the dorsal spine as well. Now we will go to this choice, thorax with dorsal spine. Either it would have the single spine. If it has the single spine, then it belongs to the species A2, and if it has the two spines on thorax, then it would belong to the species A5, right? Similarly, thorax without spine, head with yellow bands A4, and head without yellow bands A6. Alright, to make you understand, I have given another example. This is another example of the intendant key. Now suppose you have an organism. If you have an organism, this is the simplest example I feel to give you to make you understand properly how you can use and or read the intendant key. Organism with only one cell. So you have the two choices now to choose. No nucleus. Okay. Then it would be Monera. It belongs to Monera. Otherwise, it belongs to, if it has a nucleus, it belongs to Protista. If our organism consists of, our specimen in hand consists of more than one cell, then again we would have the two choices. Autotrophic. If it is autotrophic, it can make its own food, then it belongs to kingdom Plantae. If our specimen in hand is not autotrophic, it is heterotrophic, then again we have the two choices to choose. If it is mobile, it can move, it could belong to the kingdom Animalia. If it is immobile, it cannot move, then it belongs to the fungi. Alright, so what we have, this is the our lead, and we have the successive couplets which we have indented from the left margin. Alright, we have started from here, but we have indented our successive couplet towards the left. That's why this key is known as the intendant key. Okay, another fourth type of taxonomic key is the serial key. Serial key is very similar to the intendant key, but here what we have given the serial number, and we have given the numbers according to the characters that are of the organisms that are in common, right? How you can read this key here? If you see that serial number 1, abdomen shorter than the thorax. Alright, now this character belongs to the size of the abdomen in relation to the thorax. Now I have given the fourth number in the bracket. What does it mean? If you go on the fourth serial number, then you have the abdomen longer than the thorax. You have the contrasting statement as well. Now if you have the abdomen shorter than the thorax, then you would have the two choices. Either this or either this, and ultimately you'll meet your species. But in case of, suppose we read from here, thorax with, if you have a specimen that has abdomen longer than the thorax, then what would happen? You have these choices, thorax with spine. If thorax with spine, this is what fifth serial number has a thorax with spine, and I have given 8 number. What is that 8 number? This is the 8 number, thorax without spine. This is the contrasting character. Alright. And here thorax with spine. Again, you have two choices. Thorax, if your specimen has a spine, then either it would have a single spine on the thorax, or either it would have the two spines. If it have the single spine, that it belongs to the A2 species, and if have two, then it belongs to the A5. Now here number 9, head with yellow band. What is at the 10? Yes, at 10, head without yellow band. So in this way you can read this key, and this is the serial given, and this number shows you the characteristics that in common. If I am talking about abdomen here, then at this point I am again talking about abdomen, but with the different size. Here if I am talking about the thorax with spine, Then at the 8th number, I will talk about the thorax without spine. Alright, so we have taken a single character to discuss in each number. Here we have discussed abdomen size, here we have discussed the spine. Are the spine there or not? Alright. A fifth type of the key is the branching key. This is very simple form of the key, and this key is meant for the non-specialist who can easily read this key, and this key actually is very useful in case of the small groups. This key is not useful in case of the large groups. So we can use this key for the quick identification while we are working in the field. How can we read this key? It's again very easy. Start from here, right? With specimen in hand, you have to first look at the abdomen size. Abdomen shorter than thorax, abdomen longer than thorax. If abdomen shorter than thorax, then you will be given these two choices and ultimately the species. And if abdomen longer than thorax, then again you have the two choices, thorax with spine, without spine. If thorax is with spine, then you would have again two choices, with single spine or with two spines. And if without spine, then your species must have a yellow band on the head. So if head with yellow bands or head without yellow band. If our species does not have spines, then what we do, we will be looking for the yellow band on the head. If a presence shows that it belongs to the species A4 and absence of the yellow band shows that it belongs to the species A6. So this key is very, very easy to read and understand. Okay, students, this was all about the taxonomic keys, taxonomic procedures. First, we discussed about in previous lecture taxonomic collections, and in today's lecture we have talked about the different types of keys, different types of dichotomous keys. Thank you so much, and have a pleasant day today. Allah Hafiz.